So with Classic WoW being less than a month away, many people are going to be experiencing Classic WoW for the first time, and some old school players are going to go back to the world and relive their memories. However, if you are like me and you forgot a lot of what the game was like back then, there are quite a lot of things in the game that are not that obvious and you really do need to know to make the most out of your gameplay. Some of the things on this list are not that obvious, so here are 7 hidden tricks in Classic WoW. Starting off at number 7 is the alternative Hearthstone. In Classic WoW, you really do not get a way to teleport that often. Aside from a mage and a Hearthstone, you really do not have any other options to teleport in the game. However, there is something that is called an alternative Hearthstone or a ghetto Hearthstone, where you can basically get a free use of your Hearthstone without resetting the cooldown. This trick involves you and another person in a group while in a dungeon, and if you leave that group while still in the dungeon instance, you will actually be teleported back to your Hearthstone location without resetting the cooldown. This is a great way to get back to town without wasting a use on your Hearthstone, although that being said, after using this trick, the Hearthstone's cooldown will go back to 60 minutes, but this is just a very cool trick to save some time if your Hearthstone is on cooldown. Before I get into number 6, here is a message from my sponsor. This video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a completely free RPG for mobile devices, with a developed storyline, awesome 3D graphics, epic boss battles, PvP arena, and hundreds of champions to collect and customize. It's no wonder that 10 million players worldwide have downloaded the game in just 3 months. And with over 200,000 reviews on the Play Store, it has an almost perfect score. I've been completely addicted to this game, which is rare for someone that doesn't usually play mobile games. My favorite champion is the legendary Queen Eva I was super lucky to get, which does insane AoE damage and is useful in pretty much every circumstance. The graphics for a mobile game are also very impressive. I have no idea how they got this level of detail to run smoothly on mobile devices. You can get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion by downloading Raid using the link in the description below. So number 6 on this list is the speed increase. It's no secret, in Classic WoW, your options for travelling around is pretty limited. The amount of movement speed increases you have before level 40 is pretty much non-existent. There are some classes that are pretty lucky, like the Hunter with the aspect of the pack, and the Druid's travel form, but aside from that, most classes are probably not going to have any way to increase their movement speed before they hit level 40 and get their mount. A low level enchant called the minor speed increase for boots gives you an 8% increase on your run speed. This is kind of incredible in Classic WoW, considering that there's pretty no other options for increasing your run speed in the game. Surprisingly, this low level enchant, which has quite cheap materials, makes it a pretty much must buy for any character that is leveling up. If you think about how much time you spend going from quest objective to objective, before you hit level 60 you are probably spending over 10 hours of just running around in the game, so getting an enchant that reduces this time by 8% is going to be a very valuable purchase in the long run. When Classic WoW comes out, this will be one of the first things I buy, assuming I can find a guide with this enchant. Number 5 on this list is unique consumables. So in Classic WoW, there is quite a lot of interesting items that you can find that are kind of odd, but they do have a very good use. Anybody that has played a human in the starting zone will come across the quest that gives you the Bag of Marbles. The Bag of Marbles can only be obtained from this quest in Elwyn Forest. There is no other way to get it in the game, but the item itself is very interesting. Using it reduces the chance on hit of the target by 25%, and this even works on bosses. As you can imagine, reducing a mob's DPS by 25% is kind of amazing for a boss, so keeping some of these around when situations get tough in a dungeon is going to be quite handy. Unfortunately for a horde, there is no way to get this. I don't know if this could even work on raid bosses. Some people have said that it could work, but we will have to wait for Classic WoW's official launch before we can say. Another cool item is the magic dust. This cool item drops from the wind elementals that you can find in Westfall. These are soulbound, so there's no way to actually buy them from the auction house. You actually have to physically come to Westfall to farm them, and PvP players highly sought after this item because this would put a player or an NPC to sleep for up to 30 seconds. And yes, it did work on players. So hardcore PvP players that are wanting to min-max in battlegrounds and stuff are going to be farming this. It's kind of hard for Horde to get here and farm these Dust Devils, but if you want an ace up your sleeve for PvP, I would recommend farming a few of these, because putting a player to sleep for 30 seconds is going to save you quite a lot of times. Number 4 on this list is underpowered mob grinding. So playing in Classic WoW, it's pretty much inevitable that at some point you will be grinding on mobs at some stage. You may be going into the game thinking that you will only do dungeons or quests, but believe me, at some point you will resort to grinding, probably at a later level when you run out of quests. So grinding a few levels or two on your way to 60 is going to make your life quite a lot easier, and hopefully put some gold in your pocket. However, making sure that you're grinding on the right mob is something of paramount importance. Not all mobs have the same stats. In fact, the NPCs in WoW that you find in the leveling zones are very imbalanced. Some are absolute nightmares to deal with, like the basilisks that you can find in Stranglethorn Vale that stun you pretty much every 4 seconds. These basilisks are an example of a mob that you don't want to grind on. On the other hand, some mobs are very underpowered and have very low stats relative to other mobs at that level. For example, the dragonlings that you can find in wetlands have very low HP. I believe that they have about 75% the HP of a regular mob at their level. So if you're in the high 20s, coming here to grind is kind of a good idea. It will just be that quicker to grind these mobs compared to anything else. And then later on you can fight against Fire Rocks in Tanaris, which also have very low HP and armor. There are quite a lot of examples of what mobs you could grind on to get some easy gains. When Classic WoW comes out, I'll probably make a detailed video about this, but just know that not all mobs are equal in Classic WoW. Number 3 on this list is the reputation discount. So in Classic WoW, money is going to be very tight, so getting any discount or any money saving abilities is going to be very important. There is a way to get a 10% discount on all things you buy from NPC vendors, and unlike BFA, you are going to be using NPC vendors quite a lot to buy food, reagents, skills, mounts, and so on. To get the 10% discount, you need to reach a reputation threshold with the NPC's faction of Honored. A lot of people that know about Classic WoW will be specifically targeting to increase the reputation with the faction that they will buy their mount from. Getting the 100 gold to buy your mount at level 40 is a very big hurdle, so if you can reduce that to 90 gold, that is going to make quite a big difference. So when questing in WoW, keep in mind the factions of the guys that you are taking quests from. If you can hit level 40 and have Honored with your race's faction, that is going to be quite a lot of money saved, including all the other stuff that you would buy from NPC vendors anyway. Number 2 on this list is the Imposter spec. So guys, in BFA we are pretty used to only playing one spec, and the spec that we're playing can never do anything else. A protection warrior can never be a DPS warrior in a group, and a holy paladin can never be a retribution paladin in BFA. However, in the Classic WoW talent system, you don't really get your own spec identity until the later levels. If you think about it, when you hit level 10, there's not much differentiating you between anyone else in your class. Since you only have one talent point to spend, as a warrior you can either get a little bit of defense or a 1% bonus to get a critical strike chance. The difference at that level is negligible, and in general, the lower levels of your class, you can pretty much do any role you want in a dungeon. It's only in the later levels that the talent points really matter. Before you hit level 30, you can pretty much go into any dungeon at any spec, like a shaman that has put all its points in enhancement at low levels can very easily heal in that dungeon, with no problem to be honest. And the same with tanking, you don't need to have any talent points spent in tanking to successfully tank in a low level dungeon. And if the group leader asks if you're that spec, just lie, he will never know. So number 1 on this list is not buying skills. Yes, in Classic WoW you have to buy your skills, and they cost quite a lot of money. Too much money. There are a lot of spells in Classic WoW that are pretty useless. For example, the Shaman's Farsight is not a spell that you need to buy. If you're just leveling up, the usefulness of the spell is going to be very limited. Instead, you should spend your money on skills that you know you would be using. For example, a mage will have to buy their Frostbolt spell because it's pretty much the only spell that you will be using in the leveling up process. If you're saving up for your mount and you see a spell that you're not sure if you should learn or not, just leave it and come back to it when you're level 60 and have a bunch of money. In the leveling up process, your money is going to be super tight, so don't waste your gold on anything that is going to make getting a mount harder. You already have enough gold drain as it is. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below. This is vaulty, signing out.